So what I want to do now is to discuss the concept of derived classes. Now, derived classes are not something that you're going to be using all the time in Unity, but they can come in handy and make your life a lot easier when creating many different objects that have to share a lot of the same behavior, and yet the different objects must also differ in some respects. For example, we have this scene here with the player object and an enemy object, and one of the really great things about Unity and creating script files as assets from the asset panel here is that we can simply drag and drop the script file onto as many different objects as we want, and all of them can share the same behavior, and we don't need to add any other code at all. For example, this enemy object, let's say I wanted to create another enemy. I can select the enemy object and press Ctrl D on the keyboard, and that creates a duplicate object. You can see in the hierarchy panel that we have created a duplicate enemy object. Let's just use the gizmo to pull one of the enemies to one side. I'm going to select this other enemy and move it to the other side, and now we have two enemy objects. If I press play on the toolbar, you can see in the viewport that both cubes are spinning independently of each other, and if I select them in the hierarchy panel, you can see both have the enemy script attached. So what I have gone and done by using the duplicate here is I have created two separate enemies, but both of them are using the enemy class, and both of them are spinning. They are both behaving just as the enemy script says so. So I haven't needed to create any extra code to create these two enemies. I've just reused the code that I have already. But there's a very common situation that happens in games where we may have two different enemies that have very similar behaviors, and yet they do differ in some respects. For example, let's say that we have this enemy class spinning around here, and we have this one spinning. But with this enemy, what I want to do is not only to keep it spinning as it is doing now, but I also want it to print Hello World to the console when the level begins. But I don't want this enemy to print Hello World to the console. Now, if I went back into the enemy class right now and I selected the enemy class and I began to alter the code so that it printed Hello World at the beginning, both enemy objects would do that because this class is attached to both enemy objects. I could create a completely new class and duplicate the code in here and paste it into the new class and make any amendments that I wanted, and I could have one of the scripts attached to this cube and the other one attached to the other, but that means that I have to duplicate some code. But there is another way I can handle this situation using derived classes that allows me to avoid duplicating any code at all. So I'm going to press the stop button on the toolbar, and the way I have to do this is to create a new class, but this class is going to be special. It's going to be a derived class. Now the way this works, I'm going to right click in the project panel, choose create and select C# script from the menu. And I'm going to name this class Super Enemy because it extends, it goes further than our original enemy class. And I'm going to double click Super Enemy to open that in Mono Develop, and we have the Super Enemy class here. And now what I'm going to do is set about extending this class and deriving it from our original one to go beyond its behavior.